Welcome back, everybody, to the Better Not Bitter podcast. I am your host, Maya Warren, and today I have with me another special guest. You don't want to miss it. Don't forget to share, like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. And before we get into it, we're going to drop this intro. All right, everybody. Today I have with me Miss Mecail Martin. Without further ado, fam, please introduce yourself.
What's up, Maya? What's up, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? My name is Mecail Martin, all the way from Eden, North Carolina, and I'm just glad to be here. Also, an upcoming producer of my own podcast called MCW, which stands for Miracle Child Walk-In. So,
woo.
Yeah.
All right, man. I'm so glad that you were here. Thank you for gracing us with your presence and your time and your attention. For those of y'all who don't know, me and Mecail are friends. We met through a mutual mentor, Miss Janet Perez, and we have connected over a passion for advocacy via communication over the airwaves. Now, for those of y'all who don't have the pleasure of knowing this awesome individual, could you, Mecail, share a little bit of your story?
Sure. So I have been visually impaired ever since year 2009. I lost my sight due to a severe allergic reaction called Stevens-Johnson syndrome, which actually a lot of people say SJS. If y'all probably hear it out there, but that's what it's called, Stevens-Johnson syndrome. And how I lost it is due to a very, very common antibiotic, and that's amoxicillin. One single pill burned me inside and out, took everything except my teeth and toenails. So the burning reaction, burning skin, damaging my sight, also damaging my hearing to where I'm wearing hearing aids. Also, I have a little bit of speech impairment, sometimes with my tongue. It cramps up. So I know it's very weird and it's not a good feeling at all. Also with my skin, some burning or whatnot. The worst part I have to say is on my back. It took all my hair, but I got it all back. Other than that, shoot, I'm still here. So I'm 30 years old, age 18, straight out of high school. Had plans to do bigger things, play ball, which I love to do, but I figured that military would be the best thing, Air Force, because I don't have a family that has a lot of money. But those dreams got burned out due to SJS, but it only made me stronger. Yep.
You sharing that, I remember when I first met you and you shared that with me, and just hearing your experience with that very common antibiotic. Like, I've taken amoxicillin several times for things like a sinus infection, and that reaction is something I never knew was possible. And just to see how you haven't allowed yourself to become bitter, and I'm sure there were ups and downs, but to see how you were like, look, let's move on to what's next. With that being said, could you, describe for us what that was like, having to adjust from being a sighted individual to someone who lost their sight?
Oh boy, where should I even start? Adjusting to it was not easy because when I took that medication, I took it before I went to sleep. And when I woke up, I really didn't wake up until, well, actually knowing where I was at and what was going on will actually be the month of November, which the month of November is where my birthday. And this reaction happened in, like, I think somewhere at the end of August or something like that. So when I woke up, there was like a doctor and a nurse that was like, kind of far away, and my vision looked far away. The room was really cold. My body felt numb, and I can tell I wasn't in my room. However, I was confused. I was lost. I thought I was dreaming, actually, having a nightmare. And so these two people kind of came up to me, and they was like, "Hey, Mecail, how you doing?" And I was like, "Hey." And they was like, "So do you know your birthday, your name, those kind of things?" I'm like, yes, I know all of that, but who are y'all? And where am I at? And what happened?" And they said that you are at Baptist. That's what they said, Baptist. And I was like, am I? I know I'm not at church because this is not. That's what they said. I was like, church don't feel like this. And they, of course, they started giggling a little bit, and they was like, "No, you at Baptist Hospital, Wake Forest Baptist Hospital." And I'm like, "Whoa, okay." Automatically, what happened? And it was like, "Steven Johnson did this to you." And I'm like, who was Steven Johnson? Like, he's the man that did this to me. I was like, he's the man that did this to me. And they was like, no. They was like, Steven Johnson syndrome. You had an allergic reaction that had burned you inside and out. And right then and there, I had no words. I'm still like confused and wondering, like, how did all of this happen? Like, it don't make any sense, because the last thing I remember is that I was at my grandma's house, and I had to actually get up and go to class, which I was gonna. I started at Rockingham Community College in Whitworth, North Carolina, and there was like, you took medication and it burned your body, and now you're here. And I said, "What's today?" And they said November. I can't remember the particular day. I was like, wow. But in deep depression. Depression it kicked in quick for me. But so I woke up the next day and it was still the same. So that was just a whole lot of, it was too much. It was very overwhelming, and being in deep depression like that, it takes your mind in other places, not wanting to really stay alive. It's like, go ahead and take me now. And with my body being so numb and all these IVs like in my arms, my nose, and with me also, I was really, really little. I was wondering what was in my stomach, and it was a feeding tube. I was like, this is crazy.
Wow.
But after some time, I got released in January 2010, and my family, they took it pretty hard, and friends and my past relationship that I was in, which we actually got back together, tried to work it out, him and I, to see how we can do this. You know how high schoolers are. But anyways, it was hard for everybody. Everybody didn't see Kel. A lot of people call me Kel. Then also you got a lot of people that call me Swoops from my basketball name. And that one time people came to see me, that was basically it. So also, when you know the truth, you just don't want to face the reality of what the truth is. That's what I was fighting. So friends and that past relationship, it was like, I really don't know what to do.
Yeah.
It's like, I really don't know what to do. So years later, I started to gain my strength. I had to go through a lot of therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, some other type of therapy. But I had to say speech therapy may be the second thing that was probably really tough, because the blood and cuts and blisters in my mouth, it was painful. But also I couldn't taste food. I don't even know what food was tasting like. I was just eating everything, and there are certain things I don't even eat. I was like, hey, that food, let me get it, let me eat that. It just felt good. It just felt good to my soul. I was like, yeah. But yeah, that's, and also having like cramps in my tongue is, I do not like it. In certain words I be trying to say, and it's like, come on, Mecail, it's this way. I'm like, yo, I'm saying the word or whatever. I can't help it when I have a little speech impairment. And that's what they told me before I got released, is that you're going to have a little difficulty with speaking certain things or whatnot. So that still comes along now, but it's not like what it used to be.
Wow.
Yeah. But over the years, I decided I was going to do something with my life once I got to walking and stuff real good. 2013, I attended the Rehabilitation School for the Blind in Raleigh, North Carolina. That right there, I'll have to say, changed my whole life. It definitely was like my mental therapy. Not just only learning the basic practical skills of life if you wanted to go to school or go to work, but it's also like mental therapy. It helped me mentally to not focus so much about getting back friends or relationships or something like that. It just helped me to focus on myself, and also what's the next thing I want to do after I graduate from here. And I went to college, but I started off slow. So I went to Rockingham Community College from 2014 to 2018, part-time, and associates in arts. Then I transferred over to North Carolina A&T State University. I stayed on campus, and I graduated there in December 2020, and my degree in multimedia journalism. And I chose journalism because I actually want to just make a difference. Radio personality was like, boom, I'm funny. I can get deep in certain conversations. It all depends on what it is. And I just like to communicate with people. And I felt like journalism would be the one. And also I have a story of my own. I was like, man, I want to have my own show. And what would I call it? Then all of a sudden I remembered when I started to walk again, I told my family, take me to church. I need to go to church. I need to go to church. Walk through them doors. My pastor, Pastor Cobb, at Sunny Homes Baptist Church. And he says, a miracle child walking through that door. And that's what happened. MCW came about.
Amen.
Yeah. So that's what I came up with.
Let me ask you something, because something that I've come to notice in all of my friends and people I, have met who have a disability or a different ability, it seems to be this common thread of each one of them finds a way to go beyond their limitations. And then they end up not where they thought they would be, but they end up in positions to make a difference. And so just to hear that you decided to do something like radio journalism is in and of itself very, I think, dope, just because it's like, you know what, limitation, you right here, I'm going to punch through that with God's help. And a lot of people, when they meet people with disabilities, they view individuals who are different in that capacity as what they're not able to do. But when you develop relationships with people who have disabilities, you learn what we're able to do and what we're passionate about and what we're meticulous about and what we excel in. I want to know, did you have a specific person who opened up your eyes to what you were able to do in spite of your limitations?
Most definitely. If she is listening, and I hope she is, when Miss Janet Perez told me about Miss Cassidy Hooper, when she first told me about her, about born without eyes and a nose, and I actually had a conversation with Cassidy, and I interviewed her when I did a internship with Bill at Radio my last semester at A&T, and just hearing her and how brave she is to continue on, and she wants to be a radio personality person too. But if anybody ever heard her sing, you'll be like, ain't no way
that girl can
like
sing. That girl can sing. I went to the Savvy program with her, and we would have jam sessions, and I would just hear her sing, and I would just be like, man, so much giftedness in this one person.
Yeah, and I was like shocked. I've heard it. I've heard her sing before I interviewed her, and I was just like, like, wow, because usually with singing, you gotta inhale through the nose, out through the mouth, and I was shocked, and I was like, she's been born without eyes and a nose, and she can blow like that. I mean, she can really sing like that, and also want to do radio and stuff. And she's kind of helping me as far as with Audacity training for my podcast. That's the one person I would have to say is definitely an inspiration to me. So before I even hit college, Cassidy, I did hear about you, and I was like, wow. And that just kind of made me say, well, you have to be proud of what you do have, because I wasn't born blind, and I wasn't born without a nose, which I still have my nose. And you just have to kind of step back and stop complaining about things, or actually getting down on yourself. Like I was saying, I got burned. I feel so unattractive and stuff. But when you hear about Cassidy or anybody else, you'd be like, whoa, okay. Stop talking, stop downing yourself, because there are other people that wish they had certain things that you got. So, and also still believe that you are still a passionate person. You still have some skills within you that's going to surprise other people. So I would have to say, yeah, Cassidy, thank you. And I hope you're hearing this.
Yeah. Girl, I'm glad you mentioned her, because I'm looking forward to possibly interviewing her. Hint, hint, wink, wink, things in the works. But it's dope that you said that, because I remember going to Savvy. I went to Savvy in 2013, 2014, and then in 2016. And I met Cassidy my very first year, and I just remember being touched by her story, but especially motivated. It's one thing, I've been visually impaired my entire life. I was born with albinism, and so my vision impairment is congenital, meaning from birth. So I don't know my vision to be any other way. But to hear her story and to see how she goes for it, and I'm sure, like anyone else who goes for it, there may be things behind the scenes mentally and emotionally that you're going through, but she goes for it. And to see her tenacity, to see how, she may hit a roadblock and she pivots and adjusts, to see that in someone who, was born with the limitations that she was born with, excel beyond those limitations, is encouraging. And I think that's one of the beautiful things that comes from having an opportunity to be in community and know other people with disabilities, because not only do you feel alone, it reminds you that you're not alone, but it also reminds you that you got 24 hours to do with and utilize what God has given you in spite of what you've lost, and to not necessarily view life from what you've lost, but to view life from what you still have. So I think that's, especially encouraging. You said something that reminded me of something important to ask you, and that was your college experience. What was that like?
Gosh, let's start off with Rockingham Community College. So I at first I was kind of like, let's not do full time, let's just do part time, because a lot of the instructors were kind of like, I really don't know what to do. I really don't know how to help her. And so I got my team together, which is the Services for the Blind, the IT, my VR counselor, who else they know, and created meetings so that I need accommodations. And that's very important for anybody with a disability. We need to be accommodated in order to get through classes and graduate. And so I did feel alone because I was the only visually impaired person, and actually the first visually impaired person that RCC ever had. So yeah, I put them to work, and it felt great that I actually had somewhat control, because I had to be my own person. It was up to me to make it happen, and I had the right people with me to do it. But I just didn't like that aloneness, but it's something that I had to face in order to make it happen, especially in the classrooms. Other people are pulling out their notepads and pencils or on their laptops, taking notes and stuff like that. And that's the kind of stuff I used to do when I used to have sight. And it's like, man, I kind of miss that way of learning. It's like taking notes, write it down, see what I'm writing and stuff like that. But from my basic skills from the School for the Blind, I was like, okay, I got this. Even though I'm carrying a whole lot of equipment, I'm making it happen. And math is one of my favorite out of them all. And it made me feel good because I was doing way better than other students who have sight. And one of my teachers, I wish I remember her name, she was like, this is somewhat crazy because you are the only one basically almost answering every question when it comes to in the classroom. It's like I'm using my hands when it comes to the two graphs, when you got the X and Y axis. And when I say, oh, I know the answer, you start into the 0, and then you move to the left on the right axis, and then you go up 3 times on the Y axis, and boom, that's your answer. And they kind of like, what the world? Like, are you sure you're blind? And yeah, I am. So yeah, that experience, it made me feel good because I know, okay, I'm not trying to say I'm better than others, but I can actually do this as being visually impaired, and I operate differently from others. And but being alone, you got to kind of go ahead and get that out the way. Don't let it really hinder you or whatnot. But when it came to A&T, staying on campus, I was a little nervous because it's just it's a lot of people, and I felt old there because I was like, I'm close to 30, and everybody's like fresh out of high school. There was parties and, well, let's just say parties, and then there was other people coming on campus that didn't even go to school there. And it was also like a little fear because you have some people who are willing to help, but it's like, can I really trust this person of trying to help me go to the cafeteria or whatnot? So I had to learn how to believe and trust others. And that's, I'm going to say, was one big thing. It's just trust and believe in other people because of what happened to me. And then also with the people who left out of my life. So I was like, okay, I think I can trust this person of helping me, even though I know where I'm going. And I had to learn, let people help you. I always like to be independent. I've always been like that. So, so yeah. And also with the, what you call them over there? Well, anyways, where they accommodate people for their disability, going to that building.
Oh, the Disabilities Office.
Yeah, Disabilities Office. Going down there, girl, I don't know how many times I've been walking from my dorm to that building, but that was definitely a workout. I was losing weight over there. Either I was losing weight over there. It was like taking tests, taking exams, or getting meetings together for what I need to be accommodated with, or whatever. But I was down in that building Monday through Friday. If not Monday through Friday, it was Monday through Thursday. And what I need. And I'm like, it's really important to me because I'm not here to party or to get into all the other on campus events, even though I would have liked to, but I've always been behind because I wasn't getting accommodated right. And like the first A&T homecoming, I had never been to an A&T homecoming until 2018 when I started. I had 3 tests to do in 1 week, and actually to catch up. Walking down that building and homecoming lasted all week. And so there was one person there, and I was like, well, Miss Martin, it's homecoming. That right there, I was kind of like, really? Like, homecoming is more important than education. And it was like, have you ever been to a homecoming? No. Well, do you want to go? Not exactly, because I got 3 things that I need to do. I'm already behind. And so education is really important to me. And then eventually we start getting things jumping for me to get accommodated and actually to feel good. Well, I'm in the classroom knowing that, okay, I'm on top of my game. I'm getting things done on time. I'm in it to win it. I'm actually right there with the other students, because I was like, I don't want to feel alone again. I don't want to feel like I got to take someone to the D's office again. I don't want to keep doing that. But that's how they make you feel, when it really comes down to it. So, but other than that, homecoming, it was pretty good. I went to one event. I went to the Battle of the Bands and the Step Show. That was all one night. But
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I heard they're going to have a homecoming this year. So we're going to see how that goes. And I'm definitely alumni. So, yeah.
Aggie pride. I see you.
Yeah, now I feel it after I graduated.
I can't even fault you for that because I graduated from UNCG in the spring, and now that I graduated, I got that like spirit. Like anybody ask me where I UNCG, I'm a Spartan. Yes, Spartan. Here's my diploma.
Okay.
I don't know. It's this. I think what happens is there's obviously academic stress for college students that we all go through, but having a disability, like, there is another level of stress that it comes with, especially when you're working with, divisions of service for the blind or other agencies and the Disabilities Resources Office. And then you're working with your professors and that's even before you get to things like assignments and tests. And, while I am grateful for having accommodations in the beginning, but like the way that those accommodations are rolled out can also affect the success of students with disabilities. This Monday, on July 26th, was the 31st anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And for those who don't know, that act is a body of legislation that allowed people of a wide array of disabilities to have, equal opportunity or equal access to resources, environments that able-bodied individuals had access to. If you go outside and you see those curbs on the side of the road, and then you see a divot where it's like a slope, that's not for decoration. That's so people who utilize wheelchairs to move around, so they can do that safely. If you see those buttons on the crosswalk that talk, that's not because it's cool. It's because people like me who are visually impaired and like you need that, because we can't see the other side and we don't want to trust 4 lanes of cars. But even though those accommodations are in place, there's still a lot of work to do in how we roll those accommodations out for people with disabilities and how we treat people in that process.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
We've talked about college, we've talked about a bit of your testimony. What I'm interested to know is, what has it been like as a graduate, kind of navigating the postgraduate scene, finding your footing and what you want to do? How's that been?
Well, looking for a job, it hasn't been easy, especially due to COVID. It hasn't been easy, but what I do like about it is that I actually had the opportunity to become a part of a team for the 16-week training with PRX. Our team is right here in North Carolina. It's 6 of us in the team. Got 3 people that are visually impaired and the other 3 that are sighted. And my duties for this team, we are called Team Radish, is voice acting and script writing. Script writing, that's big, because that was one of my main classes in college, is writing. And I was like, okay, I'm actually doing something that I enjoy, and I'm doing something that actually might really turn into a career. And also what I done in college, because when I get out of college, I was like, I gotta be doing something that I went to school for. Multimedia journalism, you're experiencing different things. So right now, that's what I'm doing for 16 weeks. We started in June, so eventually we'll be wrapping up, I think, in September 30th. But at the same time, I'm trying to do my own podcast now that I kind of got my health a little better. Because I was diagnosed with protein S back in 2019. Come to find out that I was actually born with a blood clot, and it was found on the back right side of my brain on the outside. And dealing with that, and trying to get some more training on this whole podcast thing. Not just a podcast, but also a YouTube channel, creating the theme song, which I am very, 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 very excited. August 14th, I'll be up in the studio for my theme song. So I can't put it out there. Yeah, I can't put it out there. Girl, it's a little surprise, you know what I'm saying? So
let me just say something real quick. If you need any help with YouTube resources and whatnot, I got you. Navigating YouTube as a visually impaired individual it's been interesting. So anybody I can help not get into some of those weeds, I'll help you out. But I think something that is interesting is I hear you talking about the challenges that have come up as of late, but you're not staying stuck, you were sick, and now that you have more strength in your body, you are investing in your craft. You didn't just get the degree and you said, okay, I'm gonna sit on my degree, find a comfy job. No, you said, I'm gonna find something to do and invest in that craft. and become better at it and stretch yourself, which is really important. Something that I've been learning in this season is everything ain't gonna feel good, especially when you're doing what you're called to do or you're finding what you're called to do. The important thing is that you stay consistent and that you stay faithful through the process, because the process stretches us and prepares us for the next season. And then we get stretched all over again. And the beauty of that is that we can't go through that on our own. So therefore, God ain't gonna ever be done with us. He ain't through with us, Talk about how your faith, your church community, your family has really helped you in this entire process of, having a vision impairment, college, and post graduation.
Yeah, well, my family, right now, I'm not really getting that time that I want with them. But don't get me wrong, they are happy for me because I came a long ways. And when it comes to work, I'm into my work. And as far as like family time or hanging out or whatnot, it's like, well, I have this to do, I have that to do. It's like, but they understand, and they're proud of me, and they want me to see me grow, and they're looking forward to me to even starting this podcast, MCW. When I told them that, okay, I need a theme song for my podcast, it was like, whoa. So, and what else more I want to add to this? Hopefully to get like 1 or 2 shows weekly and get it together. And it's rough. It's tough when you have a lot of ideas and all that you want to do. It's like it's not working out, but there's like do one thing at a time.
And the reason why I mentioned family is because family is so important in terms of dealing with anything like a disability, because they support us essentially, and they often advocate for us sometimes when we don't want to advocate for ourselves, you know what I'm saying? And they remind us like, no, get up, baby, you somebody, you gonna be all right, and I'm, based off the conversations we've had, like I get that sense from your family as well as your church family. How has your church family and your faith helped you or supported you in this process?
My church family, Sunny Home Factor Church, has supported me all the way ever since day one when I got sick and I came through those doors, and my pastor was like, "There's a miracle child walking through the door." They supported me, and also when I got into doing Christmas plays or any type of event with Christmas, when I got in the choir. And there has also been times when I had got sick and when I had to lead a song or something, I was like, I can't do it because I got sick or something like that. And I don't like that when I get sick, when I have to do something. And but I know I can't down myself because things happen, that SJS has attacked everything. But they understood. Also with me in college, with me having the Facebook and stuff, I keep everybody updated on the positive things, the positive things of what's going on. And also right now that our church is open due to COVID, it's opened up again. And I'm so happy it is, because it was like, man, I wish the church was open, because you just need to be there. I need to be hearing some music. I just need to be in the house of the Lord, because just things been happening. I can't be in the house having my mind wandering about a lot of things, especially. And but Pastor Cobb, thank you very much, First Lady, and also old choir. I know I haven't been in there or whatnot, but I thank for y'all support, and anybody else who comes to the church, new members and stuff, new people that I don't even know, but they know who I am. But thanks for their support and everything, especially when I get kind of a little down and stuff like that. So, yeah.
That's awesome, and I appreciate you sharing that. And something that I hear you talk about it just, something you said just kind of sparked something that I've been learning, and that is the idea of grace, the idea of letting go of what you were. If you could do XYZ and now you can't, like with me having chronic illnesses and having a disability in addition to that, learning to let go of the Mayia that could be an octopus and do everything and try to do everything on my own and just be independent and go forward and not be mindful of my mental health or my physical health or anything else like that. I've learned to let that person go and stop romanticizing and idolizing that person and grab a hold of what God has for me now in this season and realize that, like this book that I'm reading by Esther Smith, it's a 31-day devotional about chronic illness, but she said something in there that punched me in my chest, and she said, God does not want the things that you could do if you didn't have a chronic illness or if you didn't have a disability. And that was like, oh, he wants you and your heart. He wants your willingness to serve and do what you can do now. And that stood out to me because sometimes we can idolize or really get down some days thinking like, man, I used to be, man, if this was 5 years ago, I could do X, Y, Z. You know what I'm saying? That's my day. And we get proud about that until we remember, oh, I can't do that now.
Yeah,
But
I would
God,
say,
yeah.
go ahead, keep going.
Well, I was gonna say, and the beautiful thing is that God ain't doing that to us. He's right there with us through the process, and he's not reminding us of what we've been. He's reminding us where he's trying to take us and who we are now in him. And I've just been encouraged to know that I don't have to be superwoman. I can lean and rest in him and allow people to love me and allow people to help me. And that doesn't make me weak. And it doesn't make me someone who is feeble. And it in actuality makes me stronger because we are stronger when we have a multitude of counsel and when we tap into what God has to offer us, even though it might not look like what we wanted it to.
Right. Right.
Say what
Now, I
you.
have to say that one thing that we definitely had to get in place, well, actually, too, is the mental and emotional stage. Get that corrected. You know, being visually impaired and what you lost and what seems to be impossible can be possible because two things. One of those classes, in order for me to graduate from A&T, I had to take a photojournalism class. And I told my advisor, I didn't, this is one thing I didn't say. I didn't say, can we look at something else? Because there's another class I can take, because ain't no way I can do this. All I say is, I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm going to do what I have to do because I'm willing to try. I'm willing to try anything out to see if it is possible. And it came out to be very, very possible. And also skating. I went skating with my niece, my mom, and my aunt at the rollabout down here in Eden, North Carolina. I didn't know how I was going to do it until I got there. And good thing with my cane, the rollabout is like in a circle. So I just followed the circle in order me to stay in play. So anything is possible when you think it is impossible. Just because you can't
Amen.
see. And my niece was like, how are you going to do it? You can't skate. You can't see. I pulled out that cane. Like, how they pull the trigger on the gun, like click, click. That's what I did with my camera. Click, click. And I got out there, girl, and I was doing my little skating thing. I probably was skating maybe 1 to 2 miles per hour, but I was doing it,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so anything is possible. It's just, try it out before you say no.
Yeah.
Try it out first. And so that's why I was like, okay, Anything's possible. Don't go say no quick and say, no, I don't think so. That ain't gonna work because I can't see.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell y'all a story. So this has to do with that. So back in college, I think it was my sophomore year. So I was a kinesiology major, meaning we were the exercise major. We specialized in physical therapy, athletic training, all those wonderful things that I love very dearly. Oh. And because of that, we qualified to take electives that were in that field. So things like basketball, racquetball, volleyball, any sport, we pretty much had it as a class, weight training, all that. But the thing about it is these classes are hard to get into. So thank God I had priority registration through my Disabilities Office, because I wouldn't have been able to get in none of those, or at least the ones that were accessible to me. So one day I'm registering for my courses and I see rock climbing. And I'm like, man, I remember I had fun at Savvy, at this camp for the blind and visually impaired, rock climbing. Y'all, sometimes your mouth will move faster than your mind, and your mind will move faster than you really processing it. So I signed up for this class and I'm thinking we just gonna be climbing back and forth, whoopsie, hunky-dory, all that stuff. So I get in there and he's like, you guys are gonna learn to boulder. You guys are gonna learn how to rappel. And as soon as he said rappel, I'm like, okay. And then I looked up at the wall. There was 2 walls. One was 75, I believe, and the other one was about 50. And then you had the bouldering wall, which was like 25 feet. So I begin the class, on the bouldering wall like everyone else. And the way that rock climbing works on the bouldering wall is the holds, which are kind of like in the shape of rocks, they're color coded. So if you follow the path of the white holds, that's one path and it's a level of difficulty. If you follow like a brown pathway, that's a different level of difficulty and a different path. So started baby steps. I did the easy one. I'm like, okay, I got this. I'm building up my confidence. I'm feeling good about myself, all them things. And then we got after a couple class periods, my teacher, he comes over, he's like, hey, why don't you try that one over there? And this one had a piece of the rock wall bulging out and holds underneath that part that bulged out. So basically you kind of had to climb upside down. And I said, the devil is sure enough a liar. Because I'm comfortable. I was comfortable. When you comfortable, you don't want to budge.
Right.
But then somebody comes and they shake you up a little bit and say, okay, it's time for you to grow, which means you can't be comfortable anymore. And so I'm trying to climb up this particular hold class after class, and I keep missing this one rock because I can't see where it is. So I tell myself, he's not going to see me, go to a different one because I can't see that. So I go on YouTube and I'm watching videos of totally blind people rock climbing outside in the mountains. And I said, oh, surely I probably needed to see this, Lord, because I just got convicted. So I was like, okay. I walk up to that wall and then I start to get it. Took me a couple of times. By the end of the class, y'all, my hands were sore, but I finally made it. And just when I thought I was comfortable, my teacher introduces rappelling. If y'all don't know what rappelling is you have the harness on and some clips. Okay. You climb up the wall. Okay. Take your time. One of the things I learned myself is that I'm very impatient with myself. I expect me to operate at the level of someone who is not blind or visually impaired. Like, I don't know why I do that to myself, but I do. And so I'm like learning to be patient with myself. I get to the top, I clip on again. And he tells me, okay, you got to lean back at the edge of the wall, straighten your legs. And I kind of stood there paralyzed. I'm like, I just did the bouldering whole thing, and now he want me to do this. Lord, what I get myself into. And so he said, come on, you can do it. You can do it. And then so all these thoughts like, will I get rope burn? You know, all the thoughts that don't normally come up when you don't want to do something or you're scared. So finally I straighten out my legs and slowly, like I slide down a little bit, I stop, slide down a little bit, I stop, but I made it to the bottom. I tell y'all that to say many times throughout that process of the class, there were things I told myself I could not do. And there were times where I didn't trust the knowledge of my instructor. Like, obviously, him being a professional at this, he can, he knew my disability. He understood what I probably could do and what I could not better than I did. In the same way, God sees us in a different light than we see ourselves. And a lot of times we see our limitations. We see the first sign of uncomfortability and pressure and rejection or a roadblock. And we're like, God, I'm good. I'm going back to my comfort zone. And he's saying, if you just step out one more time, despite your limitations, be it physically or medically, if you just step out one more time and keep pressing into resources and finding a way to make those situations more accessible for you, it'll be worth your while, because it boosts not only your confidence in who God is, because obviously you have to trust someone to do that in the first place, but it boosts your self-efficacy, which means your outlook on your ability to handle any given situation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm working on. Cause I gave you a call and I asked you, I said, Maya, cooking, right? Over the stove. How do you do that? Cause that's one thing that I don't mind doing it in the crock pot or George Farmer grill. It just seems too easy. I want to get over to the stove. Like, I want to fry some chicken. I want to clean some greens and cook them and put a piece of fat back in. I want some macaroni and cheese. I was like, over the stove, it's like, but I understand my family is like, it makes them nervous because what if that grease pop on you? Or what if that hot water pop on you too? All that type of stuff. And I was like, look, I understand, but this is what I want to do, because I was like, well, I live by myself. I've been living by myself for 6 years now. And I was like, once I live on my own, I need to learn how to cook over the stove. And not only that, just for myself, but one day in life, if it's meant to be or whatever, might have my own little family or in a relationship or not, I'm gonna have to not feed myself, but feed others too. Instead of having my family just to come over, cook, or getting fast food, So that's something that I'm ready. I'm ready to break out of that comfort zone and get over to the stove.
Hey,
but my
let me
family's
just
not.
tell you. Let me just tell you that is 100% possible for you. And I remember I learned to cook as a kid, out of need, but I never experimented that much. And then I took a break from cooking because of circumstances, and something said, just like, pick it back up in college. And I began to experiment and play around with things. And one of the things that helped me was when I went to the rehab center Savvy program. They provided me with accessible cooking equipment, things like a contrasted cooking board, and other things. And even when I took the independent living course there for cooking, they showed me different tips and tricks that I still utilize today. And even now, I think one of the things that scared me the most about cooking was two things: the stove and the oven. The stove, because like you said, grease pops, if you're frying things. And also, like, you have to reach over whatever you're cooking to turn the aisle off or whatever, the the stovetop off.
Mm-hmm.
And the stove scared me because there's those racks.
Those burners.
And yeah, you don't want to get burned. So, and you know how when you open the stove and that heat hits you, it's like you have second thoughts as a blind or visually impaired person, like, oh, I don't know if I need to be in here.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And so what helped me was taking it step by step. I thank God I have an aunt who specializes in things like safety, because one of the things I learned from her is that do not put stuff on high.
Yeah, that's what my granny
And
said.
yeah,
Never
so
do that.
gradually what I did was I took recipes that most people would cook on high, and I said, okay, if people want to fry chicken, I'm going to learn how to saute chicken, which is a milder form of cooking chicken. So I would put the oil in the pan just enough, not too much now. And I season it to my liking. I, do all the things you're supposed to do when you cook a chicken. And I would put it on low, and I would increase it slowly to about medium. And the thing that I've learned about cooking, you have to have patience. That's something my grandmother tells me all the time. You have to be patient when you're cooking, but when you're blind or visually impaired, you have to have more patience, because you want to make sure it's well done. And the more that you practice that and get involved in that, the easier it becomes and the more you become confident at it. So my encouragement to you would be just to make sure that if you're learning and jumping into that world of cooking, don't be afraid. Have a guide, someone who knows how to cook, and you guys can go through tips and tricks that you'll remember to help you make that accessible. But it is so totally possible. And I'm just excited for you that you even have the desire to do that, like I told you last time.
Girl, yes, I love to eat. I'll be ready. I'm ready to eat. I call my aunt. She be like, "Hello, you know what time it is? It's too early. It is a little bit after 9. You supposed to sleep."
I'm done.
Yeah, so that's when I'm like, I've been ready to do this. So my mom and my granny, they are willing to help me. So I'm excited, looking forward to it. So
And there are some other things I'll tell you, once we're not live anymore, that can help you. But yeah, that's doable, and I'm excited for you. And it's just a testament to the resiliency that you have as a person, that you're like, look, one obstacle, we gonna take care of that. Another obstacle, we gonna take care of that. Might have some bumps or some bruises, but we gonna get through it. With that being said, my sister, what in your life has helped you to become better and not bitter? And it can be a person as well.
help me to be calm. That's a good question. I'm gonna just have to say, myself. I take a look back at, I got through the roughest part of my life, and look at this journey that I've been through and count everything that I've accomplished. All those things that I've accomplished, how I've made it through without being so angry. And I found my way how to be calm with everything, not to be getting angry really quickly when somebody doesn't do something correctly, or they're being slow of getting something done for me, or with myself. It's all about be calm, be patient, humble yourself, relax, and it will come through. And that's something I had to learn from the beginning. And also with anger and depression. And I be quiet with mine. And I had to do those breathing techniques. Breathe in, breathe out. also just talking to God. And for me to be living by myself, it actually works out better.
Mm-hmm.
If I have other people around, it's not going to really work.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I can't get focused on how to be calm. And once I do that, I was like, okay, it's
Yeah.
okay. I can tell it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. And also, when I go through a little stage where I'm not having a good day, I don't throw it on other people. Or if I said something out of the way, I would automatically say it wasn't meant for you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
hear
I didn't
that.
mean to say what I said or something. I'm going through a little phase, and let me get back to you. And
Yeah.
they understand that. They was like, I'm so glad that you apologized right then and there, because you knew that you said something out the way or you was a little wrong. But it's all
Mm-hmm.
about going through that, losing your sight, and you're so used to having your sight. So being calm, being patient, breathe, and come back, and it's going to
Yeah.
be okay. So
And I
that's
will say, to piggyback off of what you said, I think that's one beautiful that you're able to look back on all that you've been through and realize, man, I got through that. If I got through that, I can get through anything. And I know something that I'm going to say this to anybody watching who has a chronic illness, autoimmune disease, disability. This is one of those unique experiences where we cannot and we should not, if we can help it, carry it alone. And there are resources like therapy, people who specialize in working with people with disabilities. And there are people, if you are so fortunate to build relationships with people who you are able to talk to about the ups and the downs. Because, there have been times in my life where, I wanted to have an outburst or enclose myself and not internalize everything. And that's not good either, because if y'all internalize, if anyone's ever internalized anything, that eventually, like a volcano, that pressure has to be released somehow. And
yeah.
it ends up being released on the people around you who are unsuspecting. So, being able to have people to reach out to, mentors, friends, utilize therapy. That's a great resource. Also, a relationship with God and a church community. Those things are what help us, as people with disabilities, illnesses, and diseases become better and not bitter. So I appreciate you sharing that. And also knowing who, being able to discern who is able to handle that kind of stuff, because that's not for everybody. Some people can handle weather conversations, and some people can handle the real authentic you. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody deserves the wholeness or the fullness that is you on this earth. So, so with that being said, fam, tell us and everybody where we can find projects you're working on, your social media handles, all those wonderful things.
Well, you can find my projects on Anchor. I still have some projects on there that I did with Bella Radio. Um, but hopefully soon you'll find me on YouTube. You'll find me on Instagram, Facebook. Um, I'm not too sure about Twitter yet, but also my own podcast. I guess they have like some type of podcast channel, but it's definitely an app on the iPhone. But anyway, yeah, so you'll find more and more and more of me over there, but you definitely found me right here with Mayia.
Hey, I appreciate that. And I look forward to having more conversations with you in October. It is Blindness Awareness Month. So I'm looking forward to doing some things. I'm not going to say what till it comes to fruition, but be ready. On that note, remember to live each day with the aim to become better. And yes, you already know what I'm going to say, and not bitter. And I will see you next time. God bless.
All right.